This is e-cigarette, or what e-cigarette users call a vape. Now, why am I talking to you about e-cigarettes today? Well, because some studies have shown that e-cigarettes can actually be a relatively healthier alternative than smoking tobacco cigarettes. This according to a New York Times article by Sheila Kaplan on July 28, 2017. Now, while e-cigarettes can be a healthier alternative than tobacco cigarettes, they still do pose something of a health risk, and as a result, they do deserve some federal regulation. However, I do believe that federal regulation should not be so stringent as to restrict the ability of the market to continue to be an alternative to regular cigarettes. Now, it's important to know a little bit about e-cigarettes or vapes before we get started. Now, they were originally patented in the 1960s in the United States. However, the modern design was not created until the 2000s when a Chinese pharmacist named Han Lik, who worked for the Ruyan Group, created an alternative to tobacco cigarettes, or wanted to create an alternative to tobacco cigarettes. Now, Mr. Lik was very motivated to do this because he had lost his father to lung cancer a couple of years earlier. So in 2004, he adapted the patented design and came up with the modern design that we know today. And it was introduced into Europe in 2004 for sale. Now, it operates very simply. There's either a battery or an electrical charge from a cord that plugs into it that heats up the e-liquid that's found inside a tank inside of the device. This e-liquid heats up and it turns into an inhalable vapor. This all according to a New York Times article by J.C. Fortin, February 7th of 2017. Now, according to the Consumer Advocates for a Smoke-Free Alternative Association, or CASAA, this is a advocacy group for the vaping industry. According to this group, the e-liquid flavor is the most important factor among e-cigarette users beyond the decision to actually begin using the device themselves. Why is that important? Well, because of the regulations that are going to be coming into play. Before we get to that, however, it's important to note that the device came to be used in the United States in 2006, and almost immediately the federal government scrambled to keep up with the device and how to regulate it. According to the CDC, or the Centers for Disease Control from the United States government, in 2017 there were more than 8 million adult vapors in the country. Unfortunately, there were also an additional 2 million vapors under the age of 18. That is one reason why there needs to be some regulation. Additionally, there have been more reports about there being nicotine-free e-liquids that are turning out to not actually be nicotine-free. And again, this is a reason for the device to be regulated. Now, even though it's not been approved as a stop smoking method, the CDC does recognize that e-cigarettes have the potential to help people quit smoking, per the CDC's own website. Quote, e-cigarettes have the potential to benefit adult smokers who are not pregnant if used as a complete substitute for regular cigarettes. Another benefit and another way that makes e-cigarettes valuable is that the amount of nicotine in the device can be reduced significantly or even eliminated. However, the CDC has mixed results about how effective the device is in helping people to actually quit cigarettes. According to some of their own studies, only about 1/3 of adults who use the device exclusively are able to successfully quit smoking. There are some other downsides too. Quote, while e-cigarettes have the potential to benefit some people and harm others, scientists still have a lot to learn about whether or not they are truly an effective way for quitting smoking, according to the CDC. While e-cigarettes do have some positive benefits, the CDC says there are still chemicals that can be harmful. Nicotine obviously being one of the most obvious, and there are some chemicals even in the vape cloud that comes out that is not as bad as cigarettes but still poses some risks. It's for these reasons, obviously, that I feel like there should be regulations of the industry, but I also believe there should be further study. And I say this as somebody who has been a vapor for 3 years. In fact, when I began using the device, I have not touched a cigarette since then. And I've also had my run-ins with rogue products or poorly made products, so even I agree with the need for there to be regulation. While it is harmful for me, it's a better alternative than cigarettes, and I have seen some noticeable changes in my health, most noticeably that A, I don't have that smoker's hack in the morning, and B, I have much greater stamina, walking, running, doing physical activity, exertion, all of that. Now, given the growing use of the devices, obviously more regulations are needed. In fact, in the United States in 2017, really the only thing that's regulated beyond the manufacture of the device is the age of people who can buy them. Texas barely even regulates beyond who can buy them at what age. Now, if additional regulations were put into place, but they were too stringent, it could have the biggest impact on the e-liquids themselves. Again, remember, quote, since flavor is the most important things to consumers, over-regulation here would deter consumers, according to a commentary by the New York Times editorial board, April 19th, 2017. The stricter regulations would essentially curtail the ability of vape stores from mixing their own e-liquids. That currently is the most popular way, according to CASAA and the CDC and the New York Times, for how consumers get their products, those custom-made e-liquids. If stores were not able to mix their own e-liquid blends, it would definitely hurt the market. It would be akin to the federal government telling Coke they can no longer sell classic Coke. The impact to consumers would be rather significant as a result. So there are alternatives. CASAA and other advocacy groups for the industry could definitely work with the CDC and the FDA to create minimal levels of regulation for the e-liquids and for the manufacturer of the device. And I truly believe that CASAA would really benefit from working with the CDC to fund further studies on the effectiveness of e-cigarettes in quitting smoking, as well as the possible health risks involved with the devices. Folks, over the last 10 years, the device has grown in popularity across the United States because it can be billed as an alternative, a healthier alternative to cigarette smoking. It's in the e-cigarette industry's best interest to work with the federal government on smart, sensible regulations. And it's up to all of us as smokers or us as people who have family members or friends who are smokers. It's up to all of us to explore healthier alternatives to help everybody kick the habit. Thank you.